And it was this weird guilt because you look at your life and you're like, I should be grateful for all this. I should be grateful that I have this amazing job. I should be grateful I have this wife and I have this life and I have brand new vehicles and I have all this money. And you weren't grateful for any of it. I didn't care about any of it. Like I wanted it to all go away.
All right, Eric, you have a YouTube channel.
I have a YouTube channel.
And Instagram and probably TikTok and everything else, right?
TikTok is my biggest, and Facebook and all of that.
Yeah. You used to be a cocaine addict.
I did. Cocaine and alcoholic addict. Both.
And you've done some really raw, very insightful, very interesting videos on the reality of that life.
I did because when I got sober, I couldn't find anything on cocaine addiction. And it made me feel like there was something wrong with me. Because I was getting sober and people would talk about heroin addiction and all this opiates, meth, but no one talked about cocaine addiction. And I was like, I felt like I was the only one that was ever addicted to this drug. And I'm like, that can't be that way.
Right. I've done 10,000 interviews now. And of those 10,000, and they're not all drug addicts, but a lot of them are, more than half probably. And very, very few, like only one or two up until today, like maybe 2 or 3 of those thousands and thousands of interviews are of a cocaine addict.
Yeah, and a lot of them, like they do cocaine and then they would go to crack cocaine or any, and there was times that I would do meth and I knew the difference between meth and coke. I knew how my body reacted to it, how it felt in my nose and the burn. Instantly what I did, and I wouldn't do anymore for the rest of the night, I would drink because it wasn't cocaine. And I didn't want to do anything else because whatever cocaine gave me, it made me feel complete. And nothing else did that. Or I was too worried about it or scared about it. Where it was, this stigma around cocaine was that it was this safe drug. I'm not truly going to get hooked to it. Nobody really dies from it.
That's the reputation.
And it is. And I bought into that stigma. I bought into that stigma of like, hey, I can get high. I can do all this. And I'm going to be okay.
Well, it seems like it's a party drug, and they see all their friends do it on weekends. So it's like everybody can do this drug, and no one's going to really die from it.
Right. And I'm going to get drunk and this is going to help sober me up. This is going to help me just, escalate that high a little bit. And I never realized how much it hijacked everything in my brain to just escalate it more and more and more to the point where people, how do I know if I'm an addict, or can I do it once a week, or can I do it every other week? And I don't know, man. Like there's a time like when I first started really doing it, once a month, that was my deal to myself. And then it became, every Saturday. Okay, Friday here and there, Saturday. And then it was every Friday, every Saturday, Sunday. And then eventually it got to the point where I'm like, I'm just gonna do it on a Monday or on a random Wednesday. But I'll never do it again. This is the last time I'm doing it. I'm just gonna treat myself. I've been doing really good, work's going good, making a lot of money. And you just lose control of it. And then you never understand how you got there. And it gets to the point that it's never enough. No matter how much you do, it gets to the point that you're not getting high off of coke. Your high comes almost more from dialing a dealer or knowing that it's on its way, that excitement. And I would do it, and I get, and I was so sick that it would only get an 8-ball. Because if I got any more than that, I'm an addict. My whole mentality was if I could just do little bits, I'm not an addict. When I drank little shooters. I'd buy a case of shooters, but I'm only drinking the shooters because I'm not an addict. And I would get a couple of them and I would hide them. And I would just start doing it and it wasn't enough. And it couldn't bring me the happiness that it did, that I knew that it could. And it was like I had to escalate it more. I had to find more to mix into it. I had to find more to add to it that will still stimulate my brain and give me this craving that I want that's never gonna get filled. And it would bring out such a depressed side of me to the point, I mean, I don't own guns. I never will own guns personally because I'd be sobbing doing coke in a Motel 6 right off the 405, right by In-N-Out, sobbing my eyes out, wishing that it would just end. And I would just keep doing coke though. I would just keep doing lines. I would keep drinking locked into a hotel room, just wishing that it would stop. But I couldn't stop using. And I would tell myself, I would make all these deals with myself so high. Like, this is it, man. This is it. This time it's done. This time it's done. I swear it's done. I'd be talking to God that I don't even believe in and be like, dude, this is it. I promise. And I would wake up the next day and I'd be like, yeah, maybe I should just lessen it a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't just go that hard. And I'd have these deals all of a sudden with myself. It was like I was insane, just in my own brain with these conversations. And then, man, today I'll just drink. And so that's how I'd start my day off. I'd be going to work just going to drink. But then my brain would kick in and be like, you know what? We can control it. Let's just get a little bag. Let's just get a gram. We know some dealers that'll just give you a gram. I knew people that owed me favors or whatever. And then it would just be on another one, to where it became every single day, to the point where I'd be snorting as much water. I would wet like paper towels down in toilet paper. I'd always have a wet one in my hand. And I would plug a nostril and I would snort it through my nose so that the water would blow out everything in my nose. And for a minute, 2 minutes, it would be clear so I could do more. Because if I couldn't snort it, I'm not going to do it. And I would just focus on one whole nostril and it would start bleeding. It would just get caked full of shit. And I remember just like blowing the snot out into a tissue and staring at it, knowing that there's coke in there, and just eating it because I can't waste it. I would dump coke on purpose on my floor mats because that was a way that I could budget it. And it'd be 2 a.m. and I'd be out on my hands and knees sweating with a plate, picking coke out of my fucking floor mat with my phone flashlight on, just underwear, fucked up. I don't know how cops never busted me doing this shit. And I would walk in and I knew that half the shit on the plate isn't coke, but I knew there was coke on this plate. Throw another plate in the microwave, heat that plate up, dump it on there, fucking rack it up and start just snorting it again. That's how much it had just a grip on me.
What is the feeling of doing cocaine?
Unbelievable. All my depression went away. All my worries went away. All my trauma went away. All my fears went away. I felt unstoppable. And it didn't feel unstoppable like Superman unstoppable. It didn't feel like, I'm going to jump off a bridge. It was like this calm unstoppable. The inner dialogue in my head would go away. I'm ADHD. And when my addiction would get hardcore, I'd be off my ADHD meds. So this stimulant, all of a sudden, man, it would focus me in. I'd have these ideas. I'd start writing down these ideas. I would have some focus to it. And it was a weird focus. Like I could write down ideas and I could comprehend them even sober. But because of how it's affecting me, I'm shaking while I'm doing it and like I'm trying to voice transcribe, and some of the stuff didn't make sense. But man, I felt unbelievable. I was so happy for once. And it was the greatest feeling in the world. Just to have no depression, to have no anxiety, to have no feelings like that, to just look and be like, I'm happy for once. Like, this is what happiness is. And that was the scariest thing, because you could feel it slowly going away.
Because the high only lasts for 30 minutes or 20 minutes?
10, 15 minutes. That's it. And unless you mix it with alcohol, and this is what I didn't realize. I didn't realize that, and they didn't even find this out until like 2017, 18, that alcohol and cocaine process through your liver at the same time. It creates cocaethylene. And cocaethylene itself increases the half-life of coke in your system for up to 4 times. So that coke can last in your system now up to an hour, which I've OD'd on coke before, and I never would understand why. And if you OD on coke, like I've had friends that would OD and they'd seize out. I never seized out. but I would be vomiting, full body convulsions, feeling like I'm having a heart attack. But my dad was a doctor, and I knew it wasn't a heart attack because my arm didn't hurt like the heart attack should, and it didn't. But something's wrong with my heart. I don't know what's going on, and you're like almost paralyzed, catatonic state a little bit, and it's all just going in and out, and you're trying not to pass out. And I would usually have mixed Viagra with me, and I mean, there's times I was in the room with fucking the receptionist at work, and I would be going in and out of consciousness, butt naked, throwing up, just being like, hold on a second. Knowing I was really high, but maybe if I did some more, it will push me through this. But I couldn't. So I'd just go in the bathroom and just start vomiting for a while. I'd just sit down. Don't know how much time would really pass by. I'd be putting fucking washcloths on me, trying to cool me down. And it would slowly just get a little bit better, and I would just sit on the bed or wherever I was at and just be like, all right. And fucking an hour later, I'm doing coke again. But it was... you could feel it leaving. And that was the scariest part. Like I would do it in like that 15, 20 minutes, man. And it was like, you just started getting sad again. And it was like this emptiness feeling. It was like a piece of you was missing all of a sudden. And you didn't know what it was, but it's not right. And it was just like this blanket of depression and like just sadness of like, I don't like this. I don't want to be like this. And I know if I do another line, I'm going to feel better. So why don't I just keep doing it? And I would try to budget it out, but I have no impulse control. And I would just keep doing it. I'd always have to usually rely on the person next to me. And I would judge how much coke I would do off of the person if I was doing coke with somebody else that they were doing. Because otherwise I would do it way too fast. And it was this weird obsession that I could never get as high as I wanted to. It was always had to add something to it. Always had to get it more extreme. And it's true what they say. It's like, it's never the same. The first time you do it, like the first time I did coke at 17. I was in Charlotte, Michigan. And I always wanted to do coke. It was on my thing of like, I was in high school. I was a weird kid, man. There was drugs I wanted to try. I wanted to experiment. I really want to try coke, and I tried it and made my gums and stuff numb. I could feel my jaw lock up a little bit, and yeah, all right, cool. Never thought of it again. And then I was 23 and I was going through my first divorce, because I've been divorced a few times. And I was in a bad place mentally. And a kid who worked for me was like, hey, let's get a bag. I'm like, all right, yeah, sure, no problem. And we got a bag. And we were sitting in my car. We split it. I remember breaking out a line, and I snorted, and that time it felt unbelievable. And I just wanted always that feeling. I could never get that feeling back. That feeling, it took away like all this pain of this divorce. It took away all this stress, all this worry. I've let my parents down. I've let everyone down. I'm letting myself down. All this trauma that I had, it all just went away. But it all came back. So it was like you had to just keep pushing it away. So I would just keep doing it. And it would come back, and then you added to it. You hurt people, and I would hurt people. And I would do shit and be like, the normal me wasn't that mean of a person or that evil or cruel of a person, but fucked up me.
In what ways would you hurt people?
A lot of it was, I would cheat on people left and right. So relationships were toxic as fuck. I was the worst person to be in a relationship with. Because sex was just an additive. If I could have sex with somebody, do drugs with them, and then escalate this high even harder, it made me feel even better. And it made my sensory feel good. And a lot of the trauma that I had was a lot of abandonment type trauma. So now I'm not alone with somebody. If they're using with me, they're not going to go away. And if I can keep them high with me, and I can keep myself high, it's going to be okay. And so I would just keep getting high, and I'd want everybody around me to get high. And you might not be an addict by the time you were done hanging out with me, you were. Because I had to keep you as high so you don't go. You can't leave me. I had such a fear, I didn't realize, like, internally of people leaving me, and this fear of loss. that it was like this own way, like I got myself trapped with this so I can trap other people with it in a sense. And you just start lying to people. And it would just start little things. You're lying to people. You're starting to move money around. You're angry. You're just saying shit to people that you shouldn't say. And then you just don't show up at home one time. And you ignore all the calls from anybody that loves you. And you send them right to voicemail because you don't care. And then you're high and you see this person sobbing, going, you know, where were you? What's going on? And you just tell them to go fuck themselves because you don't care. And then the next day wake up and you're like, that wasn't me. That's not how I am. But it was who you were as an addict. And you just start to see all this kind of add on and grow more and more. And that's where it became such a coping tool for me. Because my addiction peaked in 2015. I married a girl, her name was Brandy. Brandy was my best friend. We got married in 2010. But we were both addicts. I was alcohol and she was alcohol. And I liked coke and she liked benzos. But she would do coke with me. And we moved to Orange County, actually. I took a job here with an RV dealership. And every day off I had would be literally a bender with her in our apartment. And it got to the point that I could function as an addict and she couldn't. And I knew we would kill each other if we stayed together. So I took her to Yuma. And I dropped her off with her mom. I told her that, you know, we can't be together until you get sober. Because I couldn't get sober. And not with her. I was too enabling. I was too codependent. And in 2015, we were separated for 11 months. August 27th, she killed herself in a hotel room with vodka and Xanax in her system. And it hurt so bad that the only thing that could take away that pain was the thought of just doing a line. And my brain wouldn't go to any dark places then. I would do a line and I would be free for a bit. And I would be happy. And there was no sorrow, there was no hurt, there was no pain, there was no nothing. It was free. And I didn't know how to address any of that pain. I didn't know how to address any of that hurt. And so I ran to alcohol and coke. And then I'd get so drunk to the point that I would just start having to do more and more coke just so I wouldn't pass out.
Were you working at the time?
I was. And that's where I'll make videos and I'll make fun of, you know, some people would drink coffee in the morning to wake up. I do fat gackers of coke in the parking garage to wake up. I mean, the people at 7-Eleven on Beach Boulevard, Yorktown in Maine, Beach Boulevard, there's a 7-Eleven there, and the guy knew me, and he would keep 99 banana cases. And I'd get there at 7:30 every morning because I'd start going into withdrawals. I didn't realize that's why I was shaking. And I'd get a case, and I would drive to work shooting 99 bananas, drinking sugar-free Red Bull, smoking cigarettes, pull into the parking garage, RV dealership. I already went through a case, and now I'm blacking out somewhat. And I would just bust open a bag, and I would just start doing lines of coke. And that's how I'd start my mornings off. And like I would hope people would catch me. There's this weird part, like I knew that I couldn't do anything about this. Like there was no way I could stop this. And it was like, maybe if I get a DUI, or maybe if somebody catches me, or maybe if I get in trouble for this, like maybe that's what I need. I don't know how to stop. And I didn't want to fucking stop. So I told myself, like, if I got caught, then I would stop. And I just never would get caught. I'd be doing coke in the bathroom at work. And it would be so bad. I had a salesman come up to me. We had this new system where we could send people reviews. And we get this review left, 1-star review. It says the manager was an asshole. Came out, kicked us out of the dealership, was so rude, all this. I'm reading this review. I call the salesman up. I'm like, get up here right now. I'm like, who was this manager? Like, because I'm going to fire this person. Like, who was the man? And the salesman's looking at me. He's like, it was you. I'm like, it was what? He's like, it was you. I was so high, I don't even remember the people. I have little clips of them. I remember sitting, and I'm not really speaking. I remember he had like a goatee and like kind of what their faces looked like in the unit that they were trying to buy. But I didn't realize how I even was. And that's how messed up I would be at work. Not even aware of that. I don't even know how I kept jobs like I did. I don't know if it was just autopilot or what. But that's how obsessed I was with it, to keep everything away. It was like the cure. And no other drug compared to it.
It's an expensive drug.
It was really expensive. I was spending 15, 20 grand a month. And even with all the money that I was making, I was still moving money around left and right, pawning. I have certain dealers that would take my Rolexes in on barter. So I'd give them at a Yacht Master. So I'd give the one a Yacht Master, and I'd fucking get my drugs. Now I have to log it in. Okay, I owe him $4 grand, $5 grand, because I would hack it off for a quarter of the value, whatever. And then I'd hack off another watch or whatever to this other one, and then I'd get paid, so I'd pay and buy all my stuff back. But now because I bought all my stuff back, it's just, you're going backwards. And then whenever I was drunk, I wanted to go have nice dinners, and I would just spend money on Amazon and all this other stuff just to try and fill voids. That at the end of the day, it was like, I don't know where all the money went. I mean, I did. It went to drugs. But that's, if I could just be better at spending my money elsewhere, then I would have my money for the drugs. And that was my whole, where I'd be in like this conflict where it wouldn't even register to me that this is a problem of how much you're spending on this. It was like, man, if I can just, maybe if I get high next time and I hide my phone, I won't get on Amazon, or I delete the Amazon app off, or I eat before I get high. But no, that never worked. I just wanted it to go away. And that's what it did. And it got to the point that I was, without it, I was a different person. I couldn't get happy anymore. It got to the point that nothing made me happy. I looked forward to nothing in life. I cared about nothing. Unless you told me I could get Coke, or I had Coke, or a dealer's coming. And I would beg just for it to stop. I would do Coke that I knew was cut. Getting Coke and it burning my nose, or I'd get Coke and it's a bluish tint. I get Coke and I could tell that there's ketamine in it. But I didn't care, because it still had Coke in it. It still felt good. And it was like you're living 15 minutes at a time. And then, of course, you got to do more than that, because if I do more, it's going to just stay in my system longer, because this makes sense. So I'll just do bigger lines so it lasts longer, so I don't have to do as much lines. And then eventually when you get sober and look back and you're like, how sick fucking was I?
Are you doing it throughout the whole 24-hour day, or are you
day.
You're taking breaks at times?
I take breaks every now and then on like maybe a Sunday.
And where does your mind go when you're not high on coke?
I'd be sick. I would, and not really even like a dope sick, just like a depressed, just hungover, vomiting, just full body. And like I couldn't relate any of it necessarily to coke. I'd relate it like to alcohol. So I would drink every day because coke wasn't hurting me, because coke was safe. Coke's not that bad of a drug. It's a party drug. So I wouldn't take into account that that's part of like my depression or anything else. And there's times I would try and get sober from it. I would stop for maybe like 3 days. And then it was always, well, let me just get a little bag. Like, I'll just do a line a day or something. And then I'd be right back at it. And if I couldn't get it, then I would find something else. I mean, I would get to the point that I would crush up fucking Adderall or anything, because it was also about snorting it. I mean, that was the other thing, is like my method of it. Like, I was afraid of needles. I would never IV a drug. I was so afraid of needles. And like mixing anything into any kind of drinks or smoking anything, like I smoked cigarettes, that was it. But snorting, that way that it made my lungs feel and made my chest feel, it just was relieving. But when I would even snort other things, like all it would make me do is then go, okay, I need to get a bag now, because this isn't giving me this feeling that I want. And I would just hit up the dealers. And I would run through them until I'd find somebody with something. And I wouldn't stop. I was persistent as fuck. And it didn't matter how bad of stuff it was, I would do it. And you just lose yourself to it. It's like there's always a part of you all of a sudden missing. That'll never be as happy as it was when you did that. And I think a lot of it had to do with just what it did to run away from all the pain and all the trauma and all the hurt. That you just were, I was just so obsessed. And every single day I would start just doing it, whether I could breathe out of my nose or not. Because no matter what, I could pick as much of the snot out as I could and snort as much water as I could and shove shit up my nose to clear it out, just so I could snort a line.
Was it because your nostrils kind of scab up?
It would scab up. If I had bad stuff, sometimes I'd have really bad bloody noses. And it would just, each side, like it would just cake up. I would always laugh. I'd be like, I have a Colombian cold. Because it's just all that mucus build up, and like it would be so crusty, it would be coming out of my nostrils and like down my lip of just crusted mucus membrane trying to protect your nose from eating itself. And so I'd sit there and I'd literally just be picking all these like scabs off. And then it hurt, so I would just start snorting water through it, because that would kind of feel okay. And it was cold and it was moist. And if I could snort and I could feel like blood and stuff coming down, I knew I had an airway through, so I could just roll up a bill and I could just do a line and it would go in. And I would just ruin one nostril, and then the next week I'd ruin the other nostril. I was like, if I rotate it, it's not going to be that bad. Like I can rotate it so that I can always do it, because this makes sense to me. I mean, I had the weirdest justification of shit as an addict. I could justify it all in this really weird and creative way that just, it made sense in my own brain.
And the next step becomes smoking it.
It does. And that was the thing, is I was so afraid of smoking it that was gross. Like smoking it was gross. Like how could you smoke it when it feels so good to snort it? Like, I would have people would be like, dude, just try smoking crack. I'd be like, no. Like, that's not the same. Like, that's gross. I don't want that. Like, if I could break up that rock and I could snort it, if it gives me the same feeling, I'm down. But the thought of smoking it didn't appeal to me whatsoever. Because now it's not safe anymore. Now it's dangerous. Now I'm talking crack cocaine. I'm not talking coke. Coke's safe. And I would freak out on that. And that's where people who couldn't find me bags would show up with bags all of a sudden of coke. And I'd realize it was heavily cut with meth and whatever else the fuck they wanted to put into it. And it doesn't taste and it doesn't drip the same and it didn't give me the same effects or same feeling on my mouth. And I would just keep hitting up dealers until I could find what I was looking for.
You're lucky fentanyl wasn't around then.
I was, because I'd be dead. I would be. I wouldn't have cared. I wouldn't have tested shit. And there was a part of me as an addict that wanted to die. I didn't want to live. I mean, that's the scariest thing is I got sober in 2017 and a year later I tried to kill myself. I attempted suicide. But when I was an addict, every day I wanted to die. Like, I didn't want to wake up. And I think if I would have known fentanyl was even in this stuff, I would have probably used it even more and harder and faster.
Really?
Because that whole suicidal ideation was there of, man, what if I just go out like this? I go out happy. My wife killed herself. Like, it all just stops. I'm not a burden to my parents anymore. I'm not a burden to anybody anymore. Like, it all goes away. And to me, it didn't sound that bad because I didn't like what I was becoming. I didn't like who I saw in the mirror. It's like you have this part of you that is aware of what you're doing and is like screaming at you like, what the fuck? But you don't listen to it. And so it was like I would just, if I didn't wake up from this, that'd be okay. And it didn't scare me at all. It scared me more when I attempted to commit suicide when I was sober than even the thought of dying when I was high. Because it was the only thing, that was the only thing I had in life. Like, everything else around me didn't matter to me. My job didn't matter, nothing mattered. Family didn't matter. And it was this weird guilt because you look at your life and you're like, I should be grateful for all this. I should be grateful that I have this amazing job. I should be grateful I have this wife and I have this life and I have brand new vehicles and I have all this money. And you weren't grateful for any of it. I didn't care about any of it. Like, I wanted it to all go away. I got tired of lying to myself and lying to others. And that's how my day it was like Groundhog's Day every single day.
How'd you get clean?
I was going insane. I was at the point where I'm doing full on 2 8-balls a day. I was doing fucking 8-9 grams of coke a day. Can't breathe. Even more in debt to everybody. Having trouble at work. And I was cheating on my ex-wife at the time with the receptionist, the business manager, just tons of people.
Did your wife know that you were using coke?
Oh no. Oh, I hid it really well.
You could hide it that well.
Yeah. And plus she was a stoner. And so she'd get stoned and wouldn't really realize how high I was. And Like that's the misconception with Coke is you do Coke and you're amped up and you want to jump out the windows. There's people like me who do Coke and I'm not like that.
Yeah, because you're ADHD.
Yeah, I'm slowed down. I have this focus. Like, yeah, I'm jittery and I'm talking fast and all.
That's what happened to my girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's ADHD, so the Coke mellows her out.
Oh, yeah. And you can sleep on it. You can pass out on it. And people aren't aware of that because you should be jumping, that stigma, you're bouncing off the wall, Superman energy. No, not at all. And I felt focused. Like I just felt good. And so she'd be high and she couldn't tell. And that was the thing. Like I wouldn't eat all day long and then I'd binge eat at night because I'd be so drunk and so much Coke in my system that I just hadn't ate and that I'd be starving. And so I'd go to Taco Bell and buy like $60 worth of food at Taco Bell and eat it all. And then be like trying not to throw it up. And I'd be like, okay, I'd go back down because I got to go get a slushie from 7-Eleven. And I'd go down to 7-Eleven and go grab a bottle and start pouring that in the slushie and ask her if she wanted anything. Because I'm like, okay, if I didn't have alcohol in my system, it would get to the point that I couldn't eat very well. So now I have so much in my system I could eat. And most people couldn't pick up that I was on Coke. And it was so overwhelmed with like the smell of alcohol and all this other stuff with alcohol that you couldn't pick up on the Coke. And I just remember everything was off at work, and I knew I was going to get fired, and I was cocky. And so I saw our HR manager come down, and they go into this glass office that was across from where we were, and I'm like, they're going to fire me right now. And so I went into the bathroom. I started doing lines of blow, hearing my name being paged. I fucking did it all, and I walked out of the bathroom and walked in the office, and they're like, we're going a different direction. So I got my final paycheck, and I didn't know how to really tell my wife because I got fired because people told them I was having sex with a receptionist. So I didn't get fired from Coke. I didn't get fired from alcohol. I got fired because I was sleeping with an employee. So I lied to my wife, and I told my wife I got fired because I was drinking because that made more sense. And when I left work, all I could think about was getting a bag. I was like, I got money here. I'll get another job. I always got jobs. This always happened. This was my life. My life was I would build up and make an amazing life. I'd start making mid 6 figures, and then I would burn it to the ground, and I would start from scratch every 4 years. So this is nothing new. And I go home, I got high, fucking drunk. Fucking everything was great. I'm gonna get a new job. Told my wife, poor me, dude. As an addict and as a Coke addict especially, dude, I was the victim of life. Nothing was ever my fault. It was everybody else's fault. I knew how to enable myself as an addict. Fucking poor Eeyore. It was poor me, man. Like, you don't understand. It wasn't my fault. Like, I gave them everything I had. They just didn't see it that way. And just the rambling crap I would just spew out to try and be a victim. And I just was drinking and getting high, and my ex-wife caught wind that I was cheating on her and came home and flipped out. And I'm fucking get pissed. End up having a huge blow up. And that night I was lying in bed and I just started sobbing. Like, I was drunk and I was high. Like, we'd get in fights and I'd run out to my car and go do a line of Coke and run back in, take a fucking shot. And I just finally was tired. She was asleep and I was laying there and I just started sobbing. And it was like, this is how my fucking life is. Every 4 years this happens, and I deserve better than this. And I was tired of this. And I didn't even know what it was like to be sober. But I knew that maybe it had to be better than this. Because this isn't fun anymore. For the last couple of years, this wasn't fun. This wasn't a party. It was just, I don't even know where those days went. I don't know where my life went. I don't like my life. I don't like anything. Like, maybe if I get sober, it will be better. And I remember just thinking this for like hours. And finally I went to sleep and I woke up the next morning. I was like, yeah, I'll get sober for 6 months. I'll get sober for 6 months and then I'll go back.
How many jobs did you lose when you were using coke?
3, 4.
And you were able to get a new job?
Oh, new job, making the same money, if not better money.
So you were functional.
Oh, very functioning addict. And functioning as in like what I did sales industry, especially RV sales. I mean, I worked for owners who knew our red Dixie cups were full of vodka. I would have salesmen passed out on the showroom floor snoring. Picture a busy showroom floor. There's families all over. This is an RV dealership. It's a Saturday. It's rocking. Popcorn's being made inside, serving up hot dogs. You have like vendors there. You're putting on this whole big show because there's a big sale going on. Deals going down left and right. I had a salesman in the showroom floor snoring, just hunched over because they just came back from a bender. And I knew that, oh, he's snoring, he's out, because he was gone for 5 days on a meth bender. You know, that person over there snoring, passed out or whatever in the RV. Yep, you could tell when people they would just disappear. And the worst part were they were the best salesmen. These were the best salesmen. But they could make 30 grand, and that was the worst thing ever, man. You had a good salesman, they'd make 30 grand and they would vanish. And you're like, no, it's a vendor. And you'd be bailing them out of jail, all of that. And so I fit in with it all. They were my people. And so I happened to be really good at what I did, and I could recruit people. And so I would get hired and I would rebuild a sales force and we'd make tons of money. And I always knew, like, man, if I can make 60,000, 100 grand, if I can make 100 grand a month, then I can do the drugs that I want to do. I can buy the houses I want to, like, I could have the life I want. That was my goal. It never happened. But like every 4 years I'd get fired. It'd just keep moving up. And then I'd get fired. And then call somebody up, go over there, get hired, and it would just start the process all over again. And I even thought part of it was because I was always drunk and I was always high. Made my personality who it was, made me a better salesman, made me where I could accept rejection. But I thought if I didn't do that anymore and if I got sober, maybe it would be different. And so I did. And that was my goal. I mean, when I got sober, my whole thing was 6 months. And like I was like, okay, I'm gonna set this goal. And like I even had it wrote down, like 6 months, 7/25/17. That was my sobriety date. I'm like, all right. Comes out, I was cheating on my ex-wife. I fucking leave. I'm living with one of my salesmen. Like, I'm watching my life just crumble, which happens anytime you get sober. Because I would get sober sometimes for like a couple weeks, if that. Try. And I'd lie to people. I'd tell them I was like a month sober, and I'd be like, a day. But this time I fucking buckled in for it. I'm watching everything crumble. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, it went from the part all of a sudden, like, I have no money. Now I'm actually like pawning off watches and stuff, trying to get some cash because I had valuable stuff, but I had no cash at the time because my ex-wife took all my money. Kind of kicked out of my condo, living with a salesman in his spare room. But I'm like, all right, dude, I'm getting sober. I guess this is what it is. I went to my first meeting in Huntington Beach. And I went in there, I didn't say a word, and I just listened to everybody. I was like, you're all losers. I don't relate to a single one of you people. I can be better than this. I mean, that was my whole attitude when I walked out. And I was like, no, I need to stick with this. Like I was telling everybody I was an alcoholic. Because I didn't tell anyone I was a coke addict. Because I couldn't find anything on coke addiction. I didn't really think there were coke addicts out there. And so being alcoholic though was normal. That was cool. Like people respected that. Like, good job, man. You're being strong. Hoorah. They're just feeding into my victim mentality, man.
You tell them you're a coke addict changes everything.
Oh yeah, I learned really quick. I went to NA meeting, and I was like, my name's Eric, and I'm a coke addict. I had a guy come up to me after the meeting. He's like, well, I was a heroin addict. He's just like not down, like he's just degrading me. Like, why am I even fucking there? And telling me about how he's a heroin addict, all this. I'm like, so good job. Like, cool, dude. Did you get a medal for this or something? Like, I felt so out of place. Cause I'm hearing about like people like taking perks and puking them up and then picking them out of the puke and swallowing them back. And I'm like, I never did that. I never had to do stuff like that. I was a functioning addict. My biggest problem, guys, was I was trying to get a hold of my dealer and he wouldn't pick up. And so I had to go through a whole list of dealers to get somebody to come show up with coke. Like, that was my problems. I didn't have these problems. And it made me feel really like this is what's wrong with me. Like, this isn't right. And I was really just kind of full of myself. And I realized, though, if I played the victim, that it was all poor me and I'm an alcoholic. And so I did that. I didn't know how to get sober. And so I just started asking people, like, what do I do? And they kept just telling me, go to AA meeting, work the steps and all this. All right, so I didn't tell anyone I was a coke addict, and I'll just be an alcoholic right now. And no one told me about what DTs were or anything. And like, when I first got sober, the first couple of days, I'm shaking, I'm vomiting, like hot and cold flashes, like just restless legs, just couldn't keep food down, just body just horrid, man. And no one was like, oh, maybe you should go to the emergency room. Maybe you're going into DTs. I just kind of raw dogged it through because that's what everyone said you do. But there was something that was really wrong with it. Because the physical withdrawal of alcohol was horrid. And I started pushing through it, 6 months. And then my dad was a really big support system through my wife's suicide. And my dad was a really successful doctor in Michigan. And we didn't have a good relationship growing up, but we ended up having a good one. And then on 8/13/2017, my dad killed himself in his car, committed suicide. I was 3 weeks sober, and I got that call from my brother. By this time, I'm going through detox still. I'm working again. I have a job as a sales manager at an RV dealership in Pomona. And I'm trying to work things out with my ex-wife, and I get these calls from my brother, and he lived in Michigan, and he's calling me, and it's like 10 at night, and I'm like, I thought he pocket dialed me or something. I hung up. Called me again, I hung up. Called me again, I hung up. And I was like, dude, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning there. My brother slept on he was the responsible one in my family. So I called him back. He was like, hey man, I'm calling you because Dad killed himself. They found his body. And I remember just hanging up the phone. I didn't cry. I didn't feel pain. I just went completely numb and just kind of laughed, like, out of all things, like he never saw me sober really, ever. That here now I'm trying to change my life around. My dad just killed himself. And it was kind of like I latched on to everything I had of any kind of reality to keep myself here mentally. And it ended up being my sobriety is what I kind of latched onto. And I made it my identity. And I just hugged on to that. And I still didn't, like, I should have went to rehab. Like, I look back now at all this stuff I could have did. I could have been so much further ahead than where I'm even now, but I don't regret how I got here. But I fought for it. And the worst part, though, was I couldn't get happy. And I didn't know why. Like once the alcohol withdrawal goes away, and once like I wouldn't even be craving like sugar or anything like that, but I couldn't get happy. It was like a piece of a puzzle was missing, and I couldn't find it at all. And that missing piece didn't make the puzzle pretty. And it kept getting like worse. And like I was like, okay, I go back to therapy, and I'm going into therapy, and I'm like, I'm an addict. And even then it took me almost a year to be honest about coke addiction. I'm telling my therapist I'm an alcoholic. I had other things. I experimented with drugs. Like I started getting to the point that I was open about doing drugs. And okay, maybe it's this, and, prescribing me like antidepressants and some stuff. And it was like just this numbing depression of like emptiness. Like nothing really brought me happiness. I just felt blah, and I'm just kind of going through the motions.
Was it the dopamine from the cocaine use?
Yeah. I didn't know at the time it was the dopamine. I didn't know why I couldn't get happy. Even my ADHD meds, they didn't make me happy. That supplied dopamine didn't do shit. It helped me focus still, and I could get work done. And I realized it kind of like got rid of some of the cravings it was amazing when I get on my meds of how your addiction kind of would shift a little bit because you wouldn't be craving to be normal. And it just wouldn't go away though. And it just got worse. Like it got worse. And I started doing more for other people, and I would buy people gifts, and I would try whatever I could. Because maybe if I could make you happy and I could make you smile, it's gonna like light something inside of me. But it's not. And no matter how much I give you, and no matter how much I give everybody around me, it's not making me happy, and I can't find my happiness. And that's a scary feeling. And I was a year sober, and it progressed until I'm a burden. I'm a burden to my ex-wife, and of course she's pissed at me because I have my infidelities. I'm a burden to my mom, and a burden to fucking everybody. And there's no worse feeling than feeling alone. And it's so exhausting to feel alone because all your energy goes into smiling and pretending that everything's okay. And all you want to do is just scream. But you just keep smiling because it's like, I'm going to fake it till I make it, and that doesn't work. And it finally got to the point that I'm like, I'm just going to end this because I'm done. Because it's not going to get any better. And I'm not going to get happy anymore. And I don't deserve this. And I got so... That was the worst part. It's like I played into this victim mentality when I got sober, that I played that whole mentality the whole time, that then it was like poor me, and it's never going to get fucking better, and I'm never going to be good enough. And I just beating myself up and lying to my therapist and not asking my therapist for help and not asking anybody for help and not telling anybody because nobody cares and not sharing because what are you going to do about it? Like you can't do anything about it. There's no fix for it. I don't know what the solution is. And I was like, I'm going to hang myself because I can't stop it if I do. If I kick away a chair and I hang myself, no matter what, I can get myself to that point, and no matter what, if there's a point that hits in my brain that it wants to stop, I can't. And I'm okay with that. And I went into my garage and I hung on one of the hooks that I had that hung our bikes, and it held my weight just fine, and I bounced on it, held it just fine. So I hung a rope there. I laid down a plastic tarp. I laid out bleach. I laid out a scrub brush because I knew I would probably grab chunks of my skin out. Because by this time I was already telling people that they mattered. I took to Twitter because I needed some kind of outlet to help people. And so I took to Twitter and started telling people how they mattered and how they shouldn't feel alone. Tell them how it's going to get better. I was lying. And I had my day, waited for my ex-wife to leave, Got everything ready. She came home for lunch like she was supposed to. I gave her lunch. She left back to go to work. Laid out my suicide note. And I was going to drink the vodka in the freezer because we had leftover vodka from a party. It was August. We had a party in April, and there was leftover Grey Goose vodka. I was going to drink that. And I go into the freezer to pull it out, and it's frozen. And I was so mad that she thought I was going to relapse. That my ex-wife thought I was going to relapse, and she dumped it out and she put water in it. And I threw it in the sink, and I was screaming, how dare you think I would relapse? And it made me realize what the hell I was doing. And the first person I called was my mom. I didn't even think about it. I got on my phone, I called my mom, and I just remember telling her that something's not right and I need help. Something's not right. And I knew I had some Xanax from when my dad committed suicide because I was having really bad panic attacks. And she's like, you know, we need to slow you down, calm you down. Like, do I need to fly out there? Like, she was really cool. I'm like, no, something's just wrong. Something's wrong. I was texting my therapist. I went and found my Xanax. I took a quarter of a Xanax. And I'm just staring at everything shaking like, I don't want to do this. But I don't know what to do. And I told my ex-wife, and then I told my therapist. I went to my therapist that day. They determined not to inpatient me. And then I started therapy like every day for a bit. And just slowly kind of trying to come through a lot of it. And that's where a lot of it was. I started to really realize of what cocaine does to your brain and how much it rewires it. And the sad part is I mean, I've been sober since 7/25/17. I'll still probably never find anything that made me as happy as cocaine did. Now I'm okay with that. I don't miss it. I have extremely good highs, and I'm very happy. But there's a part of your brain that will always know that, well, that line would make it a little bit more. But that's okay, and I don't need to do it. And I had to come to terms with a lot of that. I had to come to terms with a lot of grief and everything I used drugs to medicate for. That's what I used drugs for, is I used it to medicate. I didn't have any coke addicts in my family. I didn't have any heroin addicts. I mean, technically I had alcoholics, but no one died from like cirrhosis of the liver or anything of that sort. They die of lung cancer from, supposedly smoking too much or stuff like that. I mean, mental illness ran in my family because my dad obviously killed himself. But it was like I had to really realize, like, why did I use? And so much of it was like 12-step shit didn't help. Going to meetings didn't help. But realizing, even though I look at my childhood and I go, my childhood was really good. My dad was a doctor. Like I never starved. I always had clothes. I always had a roof over my head. I wasn't beat. Doesn't mean that I didn't have still a screwed up childhood and that so many other people have a screwed up childhood. To realize like how my brain functioned as a kid of not knowing love versus ignored, hypervigilant relationship styles, of how this creates so much trauma that you just carry through in life. And the more that I worked on my brain and worked on understanding myself and my relationships and why they all failed and why was drugs such an easy outlet, just showed how much like I had to work on myself and how much healing I had to do and how much therapy I had to do and EMDR I had to do, and to learn to grieve and to learn not to blame myself. And to learn to let a lot of stuff go. And the more I did that, the more I didn't want to use or have cravings or urges. And the more I feel complete. Because I could never picture myself doing drugs again. Because I love what I have that much more. But there was a time I would have gave it all away just for a line. But it showed that I could change and I could grow. I could heal. And when you even talk about like suicide and you lose people to suicide, and to understand, to really kind of understand, to get it where, especially people with ADHD, because there's so many studies that show people with ADHD are more likely to become addicts because we're so emotional, that to logically process stuff through, to go, I did everything. There's nothing else I could have done to stop my dad. There's nothing else I could have did to stop my wife. I did everything I knew how to do with what I knew how to do. And that's okay. And I'm okay with that. But it took a long time for that. And that was the shitty part about drugs, is when I look back at it, of how much it stole that away from me. I was thinking that this was just this quick, easy solution, and it just delayed all of that. And that sucked. It was a lot of fucking pain. But I was glad that it got to the point that I wanted it to get better. I got to the point that I did it for me and nobody else. I did it because I wanted the happiness I thought I deserved. And then I took to social media even more and started to share. Because I wanted to help people. I wanted people to know that they're not alone. I wanted people to know that they could get sober, and that they could get sober their own way. Like, there wasn't a right or wrong way. And I realized how much we try to like hunt down the right way to do it, and the best way to do it, and the great way to do it, and the fail-safe way to do it. And that there isn't one of those. That it has to be your way. And whether it's going to therapy, going to rehab, whatever it is. And like, I had to make life changes. Like, that's the thing, is like, we're so afraid. I was so afraid when I got sober, because I'm getting sober, and I got sober for 2 years into my sobriety, and I hated it. 3 years in my sobriety, I hated it. I hated my ex-wife. I hated my life. I hated everything still. I was sober, but I hated it. I woke up and I hated it. I hated myself still. I hated everything. I couldn't get high, but I hated it. And I had to finally make the tough decisions of, what do I do not to hate this anymore? Okay, like, I have to admit to myself, this marriage is not working. Where I'm living right now is not working. Like, it's not being a coward to hit a reset button. I can hit a reset button at any time and live my life for me. But I had these false beliefs, like I have to stick through with this person because they helped me get sober, and I have to stick with this person because they helped me, and I have to do this because this is how it should be. And I got tired of that. And man, as soon as I got tired of that, it freed up a lot. And I ended up moving. I ended up finding a different job. I moved states, and I just started creating the life that I wanted to live. I kept going to meetings, and then I started figuring out more that I had to go to therapy. And so I dove more into therapy. And I got more therapeutic help, and then I got more into therapy even after that, finding out childhood therapy and EDMR therapy and all of this. That it was such a process, because it's not like you just level up and you're like, okay, I'm healed, I'm sober now. I didn't want to go back ever to that person. And it was brutal. And I found social media was a cool voice for me. That's when I found this channel. When I first got sober, I found a few others that just helped me realize that I wasn't alone. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people not feel alone. And that's where I realized how toxic still I was, even as an addict, back in 2019, 2020. that I acquired almost a God complex. And it started with a really good intention. I wanted a dad to come home one more time. And I called the suicide hotline. I didn't realize that it wasn't like 911. I have to push buttons. I have to wait for somebody to actually pick up. This isn't, I've been there before. This doesn't help me. I need to talk to somebody right fucking now. So I came up with this great idea that I put my phone number out. And I put my cell phone number out. I figured I would do it. And if somebody was struggling, I'm 37 years old at this time. Somebody's struggling, they can reach out to me and I'll just talk to them. I'll be their friend. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm none of that. And I put my number out there. The first person who ever texted me was a kid 3 weeks sober on heroin. And then a week later, I had a mom text me who found her son hung himself. He died. I thought I was making a difference. This was great. And boy, did it supply a lot of dopamine. And next thing you know, I was going to change how the world looked at mental health. And I let my addiction slip over to social media. And became obsessed with that. And then I went through a cancel culture that ate me alive. Deleted all my social media, had a TikTok account with like 1.9 million followers, deleted that, had the police involved, had the police try to 5150 me because they thought I was insane because I was handing them my laptop and everything. I was like, go through it all. I don't know what I did. I had lawyers involved, all this, like literally thought I was going insane. Walked away from it all, worked on myself even more, and then I met my wife now. People told me that my stuff used to help because I was really authentic and I would just share how I really was. And people knew what it was like to be at that dark place, just wanting it to stop. So I shared about it more. But I looked at it differently, that I couldn't help anybody. I could just share and I could give them the tools or the direction to go help themselves. And that I could actually do it healthy and not be hooked to it, addicted to it, and thrive on it in a negative way. And so I did. And I created a life that I wasn't hooked to anything. And then here I am.
Yeah, your videos are incredible.
I share the way I do because I want to hit the people that were like me. You know, I don't read my comments. I don't read anything about my videos at all because I know there's tons of troll comments and all this.
Yeah, always.
And and that's how I keep myself really healthy on it, because then I get these people who reach out that are like, dude, I'm there. Like, what do I do? Like, don't want to go to rehab. You're resisting and fighting everything, making ridiculous amounts of money, and realizing how many people are really addicted to cocaine. It blew my mind how many people this is their drug of choice. Like, when I first got sober, I thought it was just me. And they might go to something else, but like it's their obsession. I go into rehabs and I meet people like that was their obsession of how like normalized we made cocaine. Even how normalized I made it. It was always normal for me to have a bag on me. It was always normal to, if I spend an hour digging through my truck, I'm going to find some. I don't know where I hid it because I was probably messed up, but I know that there is some here. And there's times I'd be ripping through my stuff, just trying, and oh, there's a bag. God, how high was I to put it here? And I'm laughing as I'm laying out lines. Like, when you start realizing that you're like, I'm the only one that ever did this crap, and you're not. And you're like, how did it get so normalized that this is like the one drug out there that is still okay to do?
It's the party drug.
It is. And even...
But you can die from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my girlfriend died from probably a heart attack in a bathtub.
Yeah, and the worst part is what you mix with it too. Like not just is fentanyl in it, but what I learned with cocaine is you go two directions, and I always called it an additive. And this made a sense to actually a lot of coke addicts out there. So you're always going to be drinking usually, or slamming a bunch of water, Gatorade, whatever it is to keep moisture in your mouth because it's drying out left and right from doing lines. So you're doing these, you become obsessed with the lines. So you're going to be doing them every 15, 20 minutes. Now the problem is it only gets you so high. I have to add on to this. I have to create more chaos to it. It's not enough. It's too quick of a cycle. So I'm going to resort to sex or I'm going to resort to gambling. Because now it's creating even more dopamine. If I go the gambling route, I've learned with people where it's this whole obsession, like I might win and I could win all my money back and then I could get another bag. It's this whole weird cycle that goes. Or like with myself, I would go down the sex route. So next thing you know, I'm popping Viagra. And anybody who does coke will tell you that it doesn't really work well. Now you're drinking it, it's really not working well. I'd be 300 milligrams of Viagra. I didn't realize what that did to my heart. I mean, you can tear your aortic valve, you die instantly from a ripped heart. But it was normal for me to pop enough of that, so now that works, and I would add sex into the mix. So now I would just keep drinking sex. I'm not alone. I could keep drinking. I would be doing more coke. I'm not doing drugs alone, so it's not that bad. And I could kind of like justify all of this chaos because that's all it was, is I had to just create more chaos. And it was so much that would like confuse my brain that it wouldn't get depressed and it wouldn't focus in and feel guilty until eventually I'd have to sober up. And so, yeah, you die because you mix all this other crap in with it. The coke alone is 30,000 plus deaths a year from ODing on it. And the worst part is when you OD on it, like I think everybody thinks OD is like a heroin OD or a fentanyl OD. Like you go to sleep. I mean, that's what happens. Your brain doesn't pick up on the carbon. Fucking ODing on cocaine is painful. To sit there and literally your thought process is you are dying right now. There is pain on your chest. I mean, that's what you're going to be left with if you end up dying. It wasn't a good experience. This is a lot of pain somebody goes, like, to be there is scary. But our brain doesn't comprehend it. And as soon as it does pass, because you don't always die on an OD. So if it passes, you're just really high and maybe it was a bad batch. And I'll just use some more. Or I won't buy from that dealer anymore. I'll talk shit about that dealer and he has bad stuff. And now, I would convince people to give me free coke because the last batch they had was bad crap, and I'd get a free gram or whatever. It's so weird of how cocaine addicts are just, we look at this drug so differently than anything else out there. And it's that party drug. This is in an hour I'll be fine. In 2 days, you won't even find it in my pee. Not even really an addict. But you just can't stop it. And that's the worst part. Like at least with heroin, you pass out or you fold over, or with coke, you don't. And even with meth, the stimulant like that just gives you so much energy. You get bored, so I'm just going to be doing more drugs because I'm bored too. But for people to actually think you were normal when you were high is the scary part. And then when you're not high, they think something's wrong with you. You buy into like the signs that somebody's on coke. I mean, they're there. And the worst part is, as much as you can know the signs of it, you will never tell until somebody either says they were on coke or they die. Because you don't pay attention to somebody sniffing or just messing with their nose a little bit. You don't pay attention too much to that jaw lock up a whole lot. I mean, sorry, nobody looks at somebody's pupils really and is paying attention. Are they dilated or not? Somebody's just kind of wound up and they tell you they're just really having a good day. You just kind of buy into that and you're like, okay, cool. You're having a good day. It's a hard drug to know that somebody's using because it's so social too. And it's just so normal. I just go in the bathroom and do a couple bumps.
It changes your perception of what's right and what's wrong, and like almost good and evil changes, right?
It changes it all. It hijacks your entire brain. And it changes your entire personality. Because good is that feeling you start to chase, which is Coke. So anything that isn't giving you a feeling like that is bad, which it does. It reverses it 100%. Because you're so wired then all of a sudden that anything that isn't giving me this good high like this, that isn't feeding into this, isn't enabling me. I mean, isn't somebody who's looking at me saying you want to do a bag. Any of that is, if you're not doing that, now you're bad because you're not helping me hit this happiness. And it's hard to think, like, when I've been to that point where like nothing makes you happy. Like to really think of like what makes somebody happy, whether it's opening up like I collect magic cards and Pokemon cards now, and just opening up and getting like a card that was, you feel happy. It's a little dopamine boost. Or you work out and I get on the scale, I'm like, oh, I'm down a pound or whatever. My muscle, my personal best went up 5 pounds and I'm feeling good because I know that I'm getting healthier. That's a dopamine just bump, and your sleep is producing more dopamine. None of that happens when you're using. Your brain will not do any of it. And it's like stuff that should make you happy just makes you more depressed. And so you just start staying away from it all. And then you start isolating yourself more and more. And that's when you know it's gone downhill. Is you started off as a party drug. You started off doing this with others. And you started out doing it with a lot of others. At a party, you just fucking, we all bump out. We're all doing a couple lines and it's all cool. I got to the point, I'm not doing lines with anybody because this is my Coke, not your Coke. And I'm doing it by myself, locked in my room or locked in a car or locked wherever, doing it by myself so that can't let anyone see me, not because I'm going to get busted, but because somebody's going to want some and I'm not giving you any. It's mine. Like, that's how protective of it. Like, this is mine. Unless you could give me something, unless you could give me sex and you were a girl, you ain't getting any because this is mine to get me high or to get me higher. That's it. And it's not sociable. You are not social at all. As soon as I would get fucking Coke, especially when I wasn't working, if I could get it, man, I was back. Wherever nobody was, and the majority of the time, like if my ex-wife had a day off and she was home, I'm getting a hotel room. I'd be in a hotel, Howard Johnson or Hilton Garden Inn or whatever cheap hotel, and they're just doing lines of Coke and drinking by myself if need be. Having a grand old time by myself. Like, how sick is that? Not doing anything, just doing Coke by myself. Sweating bullets, sitting on the chair in there, or laying on the bed, watching the clock going, okay, I got 15 more minutes how I can do another line. I look at some of the stuff I did, I'm just like, it doesn't make any sense. But it did at the time. And even with fentanyl now and all this stuff, I've never met a Coke addict ever who would waste any Coke to test it if it had fentanyl. You might find some party hoppers on the weekends or whatever. No true addict is going to fucking test that. It's a waste. You telling me I have to waste some of this? There ain't no fucking way. Am I worried about it? Well, we'll find out. Because it hijacks your brain so much that there is no rational thinking. It's 100% emotional. There's no logic behind this. It's like having your brain hijacked by a 5-year-old who's getting a brand new toy. There is no emotion there at all. There's nobody else in the room. There's no nothing, man. You're focused on this and how much fun this is going to be. Nothing else. So there's no way you're stopping to test anything, or God forbid the dealer tells you it's the really good stuff. Okay, we always believe our dealer, our local neighborhood pharmacist, man. They're legit. They're real, man. This is the good stuff. Then it's crusty, and then that's what people don't even realize. Like, it's not even white powder. Like, the better stuff was always the dragon, like the fish scaly, yellowish, clearish, almost tintish, and it was crusty. Was not cut as much as the white powder, but yet Scarface told me it was white powder. But if it's white powder, it's heavily cut, and it's cut with all sorts of crap in it. From, like, I learned the other day that talcum powder on the East Coast is what's usually cut into a lot of coke out there. And so eye doctors, when they do the test, will find talcum powder or talcum deposits in your eyes, and they can tell either you do something with talcum powder or you do with it, or you do coke, because it's one of the biggest cutting agents. That, you know, meat tenderizer and creatine and all this other crap that's just put into it, versus, man, if it's crusty, you think that it's not right. Maybe it is meth or whatever, but no, that's actually coke. And so it was like you would find that I would get to the point that I'd be quizzing dealers on what kind of stuff they had, and I would get stuff that I knew was massively cut. I mean, one of the worst benders I ever went on with my ex-wife who killed herself, I had 2 8-balls. I remember holding them both, and they both looked blue. And I'm like, there's no way this is pure. Like, there's no way this is that good. But we started doing it, and I remember the first line I did, it burned my nose. I could feel it right up in here because it's like glass shards just ripping us all through. And I loved coke. I knew how coke made my face. Coke didn't suck in my face. It didn't shred my face. It enlightened my face. I would do a line, it was like I could just feel it, goodness coming this way. Not the glass shards ripping this shit all down, but that's how meth felt. So I knew it was with meth. The taste was kind of like a kerosene-y, chlorine-y aftertaste drip that would come, versus this heavily chemical drip of how then it burned down my throat versus how it just tasted good down my throat. Knowing how badly cut this was, to the point that, I mean, we were on one for fucking 2 days, and she was like, she couldn't even go to the bathroom because she was afraid the cops were going to bust down the door because SWAT was out front, and she's pissing her pants holding the door shut because if she moved, SWAT would bust down the door. I never had paranoia like that before in my life, but I've watched people and her have it, and I was like, there's no SWAT out there. I'll hold the door. You need to go to the bathroom. But, I mean, I knew it was bad stuff, but it was all I could get. So I'm going to do it. Because it still can't be that dangerous. Because it's coke. It's coke. That's why I'm glad, like, pink cocaine wasn't even around. Like, it was, but it's not even that popular in the States. But, like, God, if somebody had pink cocaine, I would have just, anything that was named coke, I would have did it thinking it was coke and thinking it was safe. And that's how twisted we get it in our head. And the highest you'd ever get is as soon as you got in your hand. As soon as you got that in your hand and you traded off the money and you got it, you'd never get that high again, because that was the high. You could do it all, but you'd be on the phone again because you just had to get it back in your hand. And I think if you talk to anybody who's high on coke, or anybody who uses coke, you can find out you have somebody who's really hurting inside. Because it's like the only way we can find happiness. Because it's just too much. And the shitty part is you don't even know what you're sad about. You don't even know what that pain's from half the time. You just know it's there. And you just want it to go away. Like, it took a lot of therapy to realize like how my trauma was or how my pain was and how to heal. And there's no way I could have ever, without help, realized that. But cocaine made it go away. And that one line changes everything, because nothing produces dopamine like that. Nothing. Man, if you were to sell a drug, it's the easiest drug to sell. If you were to think of the funnest drug to do, it's the funnest drug to do. No needles involved, no nothing. Yeah, you go to the emergency room, it's the biggest drug of why people are in the emergency room, because they think they're having heart attacks. More than any other drug out there, people go to the emergency room for cocaine. And I don't understand how it has still such a stigma that it is so safe. And even like with the fentanyl in it, it's the smartest thing a drug dealer could ever do. Because it's already the most addictive thing almost out there. And now you put something even more addicting in it. Your brain doesn't know the difference. Now you'd get all my money that much faster. I'd go from being able to budget Coke out, having Coke in my house, knowing right where it was in my jewelry box, to flipping out because I couldn't get a hold of anybody at the time, carpet surfing through my floor mats, snorting everything that probably isn't Coke, just thinking that there might be a little bit in there until I could get a hold of somebody. And Coke's the only reason I even ever did meth. The only reason I ever did meth is I'd have people who tell me it was Coke and lay it out on the line. I'd be drunk. I'd believe them. I'd believe people at a trap house. I'd believe it that it was a really good Coke. Wouldn't pay attention to it, and I'd snort it and realize what I just did. And then I'd be pissed and I'd leave. But it brought out this personality that you loved, and it brought out just who you thought other people loved too. Just everything was perfect. And it's one of the most manipulative drugs there is too. It's like, people want to hang out with you when you have Coke. I mean, if I would have told anybody, hey, I got some needles on me, I got some heroin, dude, let's go fucking shoot up. Even majority of the people I had as salesmen or people that would do Coke every now and then with me, like, they would have walked the other way. But man, you could throw a banger of a party anytime. You're invited everywhere. You know, everybody wants to hang out with you, especially if you're going to spend money. It's even with myself, like, that's why it was never hard for me to get it, because it was easy money for whoever was around. And you could do it without other people knowing. You don't pay attention to how many times somebody goes to the bathroom. You don't pay attention to how many times somebody goes into the closet, or how many fake showers they might take. You don't realize how many times the person using while you're in the bedroom is actually peeking around the corner, counting right now, knowing, okay, if I hear them move, I have just enough time, laying it out, hiding it, walking back over, okay, they're good. Walking back over, pulling it out, laying out that line, walk back over, doing a line, and you have no idea they're doing it in the room next to you. How many people are in a bathroom doing it at a grocery store or at a club or at a mall, at restaurants. You can do drugs in front of people and people don't even notice. Everybody's in their own world. And once you realize that as like an addict, it gives you like more freedom in its weird way. It's seclusion and you're by yourself, but it's also like you can try and mask it. And it sucks because part of you knows that you can do it and you can get away with it, so you kind of push the limits a little bit. But I'll end up in the same place.
Eric, let me ask you one last question. What would you say is the most important thing you learned after all of this?
It's okay to be messed up in the head. And it's okay to be in pain. And it's okay to break down. That there isn't a right or wrong way. That everyone around you is going through the same thing. That social media is lying to you. That everyone is lying to you. That you're lying to you. And that it is okay to hurt. Because that's like how we grow. That if you embrace that and you learn from it and you heal and you get the right help, that you don't have to rely on anything else. That makes a huge difference. Because there isn't a supposed to be in life. There's no right or wrong way. That was the hardest thing for me to break. That would have saved me a lot of time. Saved me a lot of misery. I mean, I'm grateful I don't have a deviated septum. I'm grateful my nose never fully rotted away. But every time I get ulcers in my nose still, they'll even come out of my nose sometimes. Just all of this just inflamed for whatever reason, or the holes in my fucking sinuses. And when I lean over and my sinuses are bad, it just all comes just out because the holes you put quarters through or whatever. Like all that damage is permanent. I could avoid it so much. But I'm also grateful. I'm grateful for everything I've been through. Like, I wouldn't change it because I didn't kill anyone. I didn't kill myself. And I used to take it as offense. I'd go to rehabs. And people would look at me and go, I recognize you. I'd get high to your videos. And I took that as insulting. Like, I was mad. I was like, my videos weren't to get high to or whatever. And finally, it was this year, I asked somebody. His name was John. I still talk to John. He goes, dude, I used to get high to your videos. And I go, what do you mean by that? He goes, dude, I would get so high, like I'm doing coke, because coke happened to be his drug of choice. He's like, it was the weirdest thing ever. I'd start doing coke and your videos would pop up like it knew I was doing coke. And he's like, I would just watch the beginning of your videos. I'd just start kind of like laughing, man. And he's like, by the end of it though, he's like, I wanted to be like you. Like, that's not your life anymore. But this is it's my life right now. And he's like, it inspired me to get sober. Because you could do it, and you knew what it was like to be there. You didn't lie about it. You knew what it was like. And if you knew what it was like and you could get out, then I can get out. And I was like, well, thank God. Then it's not like, then it filled me with a lot of pride. Then it made me smile because I was like, I hope everybody does coach my videos now and wakes up and goes, don't do it anymore. Because it's nothing like it's portrayed. At least with some of the drugs, like you're kind of incapacitated. With this one, you're not. And I used to think, how could heroin addicts just keep trying to find veins to shoot up? Like, at what point do you realize not to do it anymore? But then I realized I did the same thing with my nose. Finding all these fucked up ways to like clear out my nose so I could just keep doing it. I was no different than them. I'm glad I got fucking sober.
I am too. All right. Eric Zink, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible talk. You're doing a good deed. When I was designing the first Soft White Underbelly book, I realized that there were so many great portraits that weren't going to make it into that book. They just wouldn't fit. And once I saw how well that first book sold, I knew I'd have to design a second book. This second book is finally ready to ship. Like the first one, this book has a collection of some of the best portraits from Soft White Underbelly, accompanied by a quote from that person's interview. This book features another group of Rebecca portraits, as well as a collection of color images of the Whitaker family, and plenty of others. You can order yours for $125 or $150 for a signed copy at softwhiteunderbelly.org. Again, like the first book, once this book is sold out, I will not be printing more of them. The portraits are what Soft White Underbelly is all about, and these two books contain the best of all that work. Thank you for watching.